Alright, and we are live once again. Hi everyone, I'm Cryptic Hybrid. Welcome to today's live stream. I'm back after a few days of not streaming, but now, well, it's been hot. It's been a weird time. It's been, whatever. July ended in a rut, but you know what? It's August. It's a new month, and we're gonna start the month with a really cool looking visual novel, Ballads at Midnight, which, by the way, it's free. It's free on Steam right now. It's free on itch.io. There's a link in the description below to both pages of the game. And in Ballads at Midnight, you play a bard who's forcefully taken to a castle inhabited by a vampire. So what do you think is gonna happen? I mean, you could try to entertain the vampire, but the undead, they're not exactly. I mean, they would be easily bored. I would say, like someone who's 100, 1,000, 3,000 years old. Who knows? A vampire would be very hard to entertain because they've probably seen it all. So, if you wanna survive, we'll just have to make some good choices, and we're gonna check out those choices together. This is Ballads at Midnight, available on Steam and itch.io. If you like the live stream, give a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber here yet, just subscribe. This is the best gaming channel online. Let's start the game together. Chapter 1, Prelude to Dawn. My wrists itch. This are bard. My stomach is churning and empty. My legs are sore. The swath of hemp fabric strung taut around my neck, around my cheeks and tied in a knot behind my head is chafing against the corners of my mouth. Oh, she's been gagged. She's a bard, so you wanna keep a bard quiet usually. There's a bitterness to my tongue. I idly wonder if it's the taste of regret. No, it's the fabric. It's the old fabric. Hasn't been washed in a while. So I'm betting you're tasting the old fabric, sweat. Well, I don't know, blood maybe, soil, that type of thing. My two armored escorts ride ahead of me, exchanging hushed words. I make a short, unhappy noise to contribute to the conversation. They ignore me. But are you sure, sir? Really? Are you? Should we stop and make camp before sundown, sir? The younger guardsman is jittery and demanding, with a stooped posture that reminds me of a rat. His round face is marred with pockmarks and worried lines. Pockmarks? No need. We're making good time. The other guard, as old and large as a cavern wall, has a deep, crusty voice well suited for his frame. I once saw him struggle to fit through a door. Because he's huge! The pockmarked guard glances towards the horizon line, gritting his teeth. They're scared because, the sun is coming down. But sir... Enough! We'll be rid of her today. Be rid of me? Like being rid of some piss-stained rug? How rude. What did I ever do to warrant such an objectification? Well, we're gonna find out. Feeling vexed, I continue to groan and yawl against the hemp between my teeth. It's inarticulate and far from the most graceful sounds I've ever made, but I make it sound increasingly urgent. Noise and more noise. One of them pulls the reins of his horse, dismounting with a dull armored clatter like a rattling dish cabinet. It's the younger one. Good. He approaches me, muttering swears as he reaches back to yank the gag from my head. What? Convict? What is it now? What is it now, convict? Alright. Actually, you know what? Maybe we should save. I'm gonna save with every choice. Okay, this is a good one. Most people buy me a drink before they bring out the gag. You're all ingrates, you hear me? Low-browed, barbaric bonehead, the whole lot of you. Screaming's probably not gonna help, right? So let's just be sneaky. Most people buy me a drink before they bring out the gag. Stop it. He hisses the words low under his breath. Through his ears glow a traitorous shade of tomato red. Ah, we're making him blush? It wasn't funny the first time, and it won't be funny the next time. There won't be a next time at the rate we're going. I can say it again pretty fast, I think. Ah, gods. You haven't learned your lesson. What's wrong with you? He almost sounded amazed. If my hands weren't untied, I'd twirl my wrist and do a curtsy, cause I'm so good. So instead I sidled up to him, reaching out to brush my knuckles against his waistband. What's wrong? I wager you know exactly what's wrong. I was under the impression we'd moved past ritualistic sacrifice of civilization, you see. I thought we were better than all of this. Yet here you knuckleheads are, dragging me through the woods to feed me to a godforsaken vampire. I stomp on a branch when I get close enough. The ensuing crack obscures the sound as I unsheath the dagger from his belt. Ooh, she's sneaky, I told you. I palm it under my sleeve in a quick motion, hoping my ruse goes unnoticed. The god stumbles away from me. He draws his sword to keep me at bay, snarling. You keep away, you heretic. Don't come near me. I raise my bound wrist in front of my chest, widening my eyes to look appropriately frightened. She's playing the part. And I still have his dagger. By the time he clambers back to his horse, his old companion extends his arm and smacks the back of the young guardsman's head. Idiot. Now we have to listen to her belly aching for the rest of the journey. Do we? The younger guard rubs his head, sounding defensive. She's caused nothing but trouble. Why not slit her throat and be done with it? Let the wildlife take care of the remains. Oh! The old guard hits him again. I'd find humor in this slapstick routine if they weren't discussing my imminent demise. Shush, boy. We carry Her Majesty's orders to the letter, you and I. No shortcuts. You know the severity of our laws. Underhanded practice will cost you your damn hands. The pockmarked guard hunches further at his shoulder, at the shoulders. His eyes dart around like he wants to argue, but he begrudgingly clamps his mouth shut. I, on the other hand, have a dog penchant for making my observation known, and I'm blessed with quick retorts. Or is it just the costs of fingers, if you're lucky? I notice our wise old man here is missing a digit or two. Oh. I raise my restrained palms, wiggling my fingers. See, I have all my fingers, old man! They glower balefully at me. I've seen actual battlefields, harlot. Do not liken me to your crooked, brawling ilk. Convict, heretic, and now harlot. Wonderful. I mean, you know, I'm the prisoner, of course they're gonna call me names. I roll my eyes and wrinkle my nose at him. I'll bet anything that the old man is lying. Illuvia hasn't waged any wars in the past half century. Maybe he's more than 50 years old then. A lot older. Furthermore, he boasted to my jailers that he's been assigned to this post for the brunt of his service to the crown. But I know better than to push my luck with him. He's more prone to violence than the other guardsmen. I used to lag behind at the start of our journey, defiant and stubborn. The old one never hesitated to yank the rope around my wrists, lurching me right into brambles and sharp stones. Defying him, I learned, meant having scraped palms and knees at best. Our pace carefully slows when we cross over a mossy log and a series of thick, tangled roots. For the horse's sake, of course, rather than mine. I work my jaw in silence for a while, keeping a measured distance behind them, cause she still has the dagger. My grip on the dagger is unwieldy and clumsy. Aiming it towards my bonds is trickier than I imagined. I flinch at as the pointed tips, the tip jabs against my inner arm, but shoot the guard a winning smile when they turn to look at me. So, good old Cursed Forest, huh? Did you volunteer to escort prisoners to the Blighted Brush, or was it an inherited post? Father's father and such? The pockmarked guard scoffs and mimics my words under his breath. Like that. Nothing to fear in these old woods, lass. Not if you're properly armed. Nothing but bears and wolves. People steer clear because they fear what lies in wait beyond. Surely you know that much. The men don't dare to tell me how they were assigned to their roles. None of my business, I suppose. Well, they're not really chatty with their prisoner. An overhead canopy of leaves parts, allowing patches of sunlight to heat my scalp and cheek. The journey has been long and exhausting, but not altogether difficult. I even consider it idyllic from its perpetual backdrop of birdsong and distantly running water. Any sense of leisure sinks and coils at the pit of my stomach as I realize that the birds have gone silent and the sound of water has risen into a dull roar. Before us is a murky disk of water, blemished green with algae, miles long, miles wide, and a harrowingly uncertain depth. A jagged, ostentatious estate protruding from the ground like a sword through someone's back looms across the water's expanse. That's where we're going. Not the first decrepit castle I've seen in my travels, but perhaps it may be my last. That's where I'll be staying then, huh? Home sweet home? Shit, I've barely shorn through a quarter of my restraints. Even if I make a break for it now, they'd run me down on horseback. I tried it before, back when they marched me to the greater plains. They nearly tramped me into paste. Ugh. I mean, you know, they were they were violent, what can I say? Quiet down, you sorry lass. You may wish to take this time to consider your last words. Well, that's not a bad idea. I could hit you with a real zinger before I go. The old guard groans, mumbling a bitter prayer. I barely have time to hide the dagger before he dismounts and shoves me with more force than necessary. Ow! He lowers me unceremoniously into a ramshackle little boat, leaving the pockmarked guard to deal with me while he tends to the horses. My breath catches when the remaining guard takes the seat opposite of me. His gawky movements nearly make the boat capsize before we've even left the shore. The boat cuts to the algae like a knife. Over on dry land, the old guardsman takes a heavy seat on the grass as he watches the sun descend. It's a more serene view that he deserves. I take a deep breath and open my mouth to shout. Shout, huh? Let it all out, huh? Let's see. You old bastard or overgrown prune? I mean, both would be appropriate. I could probably curse the old guardsman more. Let's go for overgrown prune because he's huge. So we're gonna make fun of his weight. Overgrown prune. The young guard bites back a chuckle and clears his throat. I suppose he's freer to find revelry now that we're at a safe distance away. As I warily crane my neck around, I observe how the water completely surrounds the estate. That makes this a moat, but there curiously isn't a drawbridge in sight. At its northeast and westward edges, the moat connects to a river. Following one side will likely lead one straight to the Rubifian Ocean. I could go to the beach. Better than go to a castle with a vampire in it, but anyway. It's quite lovely really to be surrounded by such a wealth of natural water. Shame I never learned how to swim. I don't suppose I can persuade you to ferry me over yonder, all the way around the estate, on the other side of the shore? The guard elects not to reply. He won't even look at me now. Aside from the oars carving through the water, the remaining boat ride is hushed and nerve-wracking. I sit up straight and stock still, trying to keep my weight centered despite the stinging insects nipping at my neck and ankles. The sun turns red as it dips closer to the horizon. It takes half an hour to reach the other side, if no longer. Beyond the lip of the water is a carved ledge with a pit of trenches surrounding the estate's perimeter. Oh! Ow! The guard wastes no time forcing me upright and pushing me off the side. I fall into a roll barely cushioned by the impact of grassy mud. I aim myself back up with effort, ready to yell the insult boiling at the tip of my tongue. To my surprise, the young guard is still up there, lingering at the edge. So he's not leaving yet. Alright. Miss me already? Hesitating doesn't make you better than him. No, I'm gonna be sneaky all the way. Miss me already? I quirk my head aside and bat my eyelashes at him. His response is slow and deliberate. I won't even remember you by tomorrow. I hardly know you, convict. And you don't even know my name. Well, who needs names? We are two ships passing in the night, you and I. But it's not too late to change that, hmm? We can still run off into the sunset together. Come on, help me up. With the sun setting behind the guardsman, his features are cast in unreadable shadow. His fingers twitch and tap at his side. He casts an uneasy glance over his shoulder before finally he grumbles and rummages through his overcoat. From it he pulls out the neck of a familiar instrument and throws it onto the ground with me. I cry out as my lute lands in the mud, nearly falling into my own shoulder as I reach and fail to catch it. You'll owe me one in your next life, convict. I hope this accursed thing provides you some comfort in your final moments. I glare up at him. Old guy made me nervous, didn't he? All that talk about cutting off hands for being underhanded? Shut up. I knew you were acting jumpy for a reason. I just knew it. You were gonna pawn off my little poor beauty here, but now you don't want to risk getting caught with it. Harlot. He spits at me before he hurries away. I listen for the sound of the boat sloshing in the water, and then the creak of the oars shortly after. Now, why is it that when people don't know how else to argue with a woman, they must remark on how frequently she has sex? I mean, you know, it's an easy go-to, I guess. With effort, I dislodge the dagger from the inside of my sleeve. Oh yeah, because she has the dagger, right? It's still unwieldy, but cutting myself loose is a little easier when I don't need to hide the blade from my captors. Well, okay, so her restraints are off. Okay, I pick up my lute, carefully wiping off the dirt and grime before I check and adjust its strings. I holster it behind my back where it belongs. It's thankfully intact, but I'm not sure I can say the same about myself. I know I need to come up with a plan. I need to explore and get familiar with the surroundings, seek out a hiding spot while there's still daylight. But my entire body is aching. I won't get far if I push myself to move now. I check the insides of my clothes for the last of my possessions, kept safe and hidden under the lining. I've never been more grateful to have learned invisible stitching. A handful of coins and my songwriting journal are all that I have left. I had hidden a number of small blades on my person, but I was too reckless in my previous escape attempts. I kept getting caught, and they confiscated all my knives. This guardsman's dagger isn't too shabby, at least. I tuck the blade into my belt, careful not to poke myself. I'll be ready to use it when it's dark. The ledge I fell from casts a long shadow. I edge away from it into the remaining light, and I concentrate on taking deep, rejuvenating breaths. This creature of the night, I heard it can change its very shape. Well, it can turn into a bat, right? I mean, it's better than Morbius, right? Was it Morbius? I think it was, but well, that was alive. I've heard it can change its very shape. If it pursues me in the form of some animal, I doubt I can outrun it for long. It's wisest to save my strength so I can battle whatever form it takes. After all, I'm determined not to go down easily. Chapter 2. Rhapsodic Introductions. Dusk falls. There's barely a sliver of apricot orange glowing across the horizon, which means my shelter of light dims and shrinks by the minute. I shiver at the evening cold as the evening cold burrows onto my clothes, and I sense the vampire just moments before I hear it speak.
Well, well, another gift from the crown.
That's the vampire. The creature's airy serpentine voice moves around me as it prowls beyond the perimeter of remaining light. It's watching me, circling me like a vulture.
What grievous crimes you must have committed to be sent all the way here.
I draw my dagger, pointing it at the source.
Assessing your dinner, beast? Your mother should have taught you not to play with your food.
The voice lapses into a contemplative hum. My heart hammers against my ribs as I lose track of the vampire in the silence. I twist around, catching sight of its eyes reflected in the moonlight right when it lunges. The vampire snatches me by the wrist. The skin on its dark clawed hand bubbles under the waning sunlight before it wrenches me into the shadows. My dagger clatters to the ground.
You're talkative. I usually like it when they're talkative.
Crap, I don't have the dagger
but
anymore.
yours is an insolent nature. No doubt you've ended up here by disrespecting some local authority.
No, actually, I was sent here because I was singing songs that were not my own. It was a copyright dispute. The vampire hoists my arm above my head, positioning us face to face as he regards me. I scrutinize him in turn. He bears similarities to a human man, but I steal a glance upwards, observing his already heated hand with dismay.
You smell of chain rust, fresh soil, dried blood, and incense.
Yeah, I'm a big hit with nuns and orphans.
What am I doing? This isn't the time for banter. I struggle in his grasp. He steps forward, and I remain blackened under the gloom of darkness. There's a small clatter underfoot as he drives his boot under my dagger, kicks it upright, and then snatches the blade out of the air in a fluid motion. He twirls the dagger between his long fingers, appraising it.
Most unusual. Few of my guests manage to smuggle a means to escape their bonds. If I had to wager, you must be a talented cutpurse. Which wouldn't be the worst offense, all things considered.
Yeah, 1 second, let me just lower the music a little bit. Okay.
Stop manhandling me!
Well, vampire handling me. With my free open palm, I smack him hard across the face and yank my captive hand free. He flinches at the blow, looking more astonished than anything. I don't stay long enough to catch how he reacts next. I run. My lungs are heavy in my chest and my body is screaming at me to catch my breath, but I can't stop now. There's nothing I can use in the courtyard. My only choice is to head into the estate and hope to find a means of escape. There's got to be a ladder or something I can use to scale the damn ledge. Then I just need to find something buoyant, like a wood panel or a door, something. I run down dizzying identical hallways, down several cavernous rooms, displacing dining chairs and overturning saloon end tables in my wake. But there's nothing I can use to escape, nothing I can narrow down in my panic. All the while, the vampire follows me with an even stride. He rubs his cheek with narrowed eyes. Narrowed eyes?
Will you slow down? This is terribly tedious.
No.
He hasn't changed his shape, but I know how quickly he can pounce if I let him near. I can't let him get close. I topple a nearby cabin, sending it careering into the floor between us. The vampire makes a small offended noise amid the sound of crashing glass. Before he can reflect further, I seize a standing vase and hold it aloft, ready to throw.
Stop it. Calm down.
I pivot my grasp on the lip of the vase, bending my arms menacingly. Water and flowers slosh onto the floor.
You dare to tell me to calm down? Really?
She's very upset. There's an oddly muffled sigh when the vampire steeples his hands in front of his nose.
I despise the chase. Look at this blasted mess. You realize no one else lives here? After you're gone, who do you think has to clean up the remains of your rampage?
I don't care.
I'm sorry. Are you criticizing the way I'm fighting for my life?
Okay, a little bit overdramatic, but sure.
You must understand, mortal. Despite what the good people of Illuvia will have you believe, I have no bestial compulsion to take your life. Alright?
Wait, but why am I... Wait, what? Bestial... Okay, so he doesn't have a bestial compulsion to take my life, but he's still gonna take my life, right? That's why I'm here, to be killed by the vampire, right? Like a sacrifice?
Though I'll admit you have sorely tempted me with the prospect of your demise, there is a civilized alternative worth considering.
Okay. A civilized alternative to becoming a withered, bloodless corpse decorating his hallway? I kept the vase aloft, halfway between willful rebellion and uncertain curiosity.
I'm listening.
That is all I ask. First of all, this here.
He dangles a dagger from between two fingers, as if it's a dirty sock he found in my chambers.
As a show of good faith, I will return to you this nasty little thing. In exchange, you will not stab me with it.
No promises.
Its blade is neither sharp nor long enough to kill me, but it will deeply annoy me. If I am deeply annoyed, I will be forced to rescind my good faith and tear you to shreds.
What's wrong with your hands, dude?
Understood?
I furrow my brows, but I nod. It makes sense. If I actually want to incapacitate him, I'd at least need a larger weapon. I've yet to hear any mess where vampires are notoriously weak to standard cavalry daggers.
Good girl. Here.
He tosses the dagger over to me. It slides along the floor until I stop it with the heel of my boot. I don't bend to pick it up.
Our next matter at hand is the barter.
Barter?
I've been known to spare and set my prisoners free in exchange for knowledge or for an item of substantial value. Fortunately for you, I noticed the loot strapped to your back while you were racing through my abode.
Oh no, he wants the loot? I pivot my torso away, trying in vain to hide the instrument from sight.
Come now, don't be selfish. Give it to me and you will have your freedom.
I mean, do I really value the loot that much?
Your life will be yours again. Keep away from Illuvia and lay low for several years, and the crown will be none the wiser.
I can't.
What? Give him the loot!
What?
I've cared for it ever since I was a little girl. How can I possibly give it up now? Well, if you want to be an older girl...
I can't give it to you. No. I nearly lost it once already.
Nothing is stopping you from purchasing a new one once you have your freedom. Certainly you'll have to save up for a while. I recognize the value of an average instrument, let alone how much an artisan lute must cost now after centuries of inflation. However, you will have plenty of chances to...
I mean, how would there be inflation? What type of money are these people using in Illuvia?
No. No. I said I won't give it to you.
Why not?
Why is he angry at me, hypocrite? I raise my voice to match his tone. I can't help it, I get competitive.
You imply me to be insensitive on the grounds of trampling through your home, but what about you? Demanding my only means of providing for myself.
Alright, Jesus, so dramatic.
Your only means? Nonsense. You're able-bodied, young, far from hideous. Once you have your freedom, I'm quite certain you'll figure something out.
Did he call me hot?
Your
Calling me hot?
venerable age must have impaired your hearing then, vampire, because I'm not sure you quite caught it when I repeatedly said no. I am not giving it to you.
Again, very dramatic.
Fine. Then you're not leaving.
He flings his hand skyward, turning and stalking towards the nearest window.
I pray you'll have fun rotting in here for the remainder of your brief and miserable existence, mortal. At which point you and I might have something in common.
Did he just disappear? He erupts into a vicious flurry of black mist. Once the smoke clears, I see the flapping outline of a bat soaring out of the window and into the night. I groan between gritted teeth, jostling the stupid vase that I'm still holding over my head. As tempting as it is to smash it, I set it down and begin gathering the displaced flowers with a dejected sigh. The blooms are vibrantly fresh and flagrant, but they're growing to wilt without water. Gods, I just got into a screaming match with a vampire and upset him so much that he had to, I don't know, go take an angry nap? I'm still alive though. I surely count this as a win, but I don't know. My chest is tight with apprehension. I wasn't supposed to annoy him. He said he'd rip me to shreds if I annoyed him. Damn it, god damn it. What have I done? I should have offered to barter with something else. I doubt he'd be interested in a few coins I have, and I can't bear to part with my music. But did he mention an option to trade knowledge? Even if he had centuries to experience the world around him, surely there's an obscure nugget of wisdom I can impart. After all, I like to think that everyone I meet teaches me something new. I'll have some leverage. I can figure out what he already knows. And if I can't, then I need to find something else to protect myself. The dagger will be a little useless aside from cutting rope. Okay, so let's look around the castle then. Chapter 3. Stray Dog Serenade. Night seems never ending as I creep to the estate. The vampire hasn't shown himself since our earlier squabble, though his absence does little to assure my nerves. Oh, wait, I don't know what this... Wait, I don't know what this word is. It's probably not it's definitely not assure. As any prey animal knows, the deadliest predator is one you don't see coming. Exhaustion weighs against my eyes, but adrenaline keeps me on edge, pulsing to my veins like a heavy drum. The slightest shift of wind-blown curtains make me jump. I keep expecting those moonlit eyes to be watching when I turn, but the shadows are always barren, devoid of vampires. Does he truly mean to sulk for the remainder of the night? I suppose I should count my blessings while I can. As I explore, I notice how each successive chamber is spotless and immaculately tidy, aside from the furniture I disturbed, which I take the time to strengthen, because, you know, I'm cleaning my mess. I uncover an abundance of books crowding the shelves and various surfaces. They contain an array of technical topics including geography, astronomy, invocation, and mathematics. They're all dog-eared and full of notes. Don't tell me he's read every book in the estate. I can't panic yet. I can still narrow this down. Assuming he takes the time to clean his most frequent spaces, I ought to pay attention to what is and isn't covered in dust. Yet even locating a single cobweb presents a unique challenge. I set the book down, running my hand across the marble exterior of an engraved fireplace. Even this is pristine, unmarred by all ashes and licking flames. The nearby fire iron, at least, is an encouraging sight. I pick it up to give it a gentle swing, testing the weight, and wince when my arm throbs in protest. I'll have to remind myself to use my non-dominant hand. The fire iron has a dull tip that's unlikely to pierce skin, but a decisive strike should send anyone reeling, even an immortal creature of the night. Of course, pissing him off by whacking him in the head is a last resort. I'm more interested in jabbing the fire iron into the ledge outside and using it as a handhold to climb my way up. The idea may sound absurd, but it could work. I won't know until I try. Although, even if I successfully scale the ledge, I still have to defeat the moat somehow. My gaze wanders across the chamber. If someone is wealthy enough to build a castle, they usually enjoy surrounding themselves with larger-than-life portraits. One would think that I have found a big enough painting to pry off the wall and ride across the moat by now, but the decor is tragically modest. As I move to lower my arms, a golden glimmer reflects off the dark metal of the fire iron. I pivot my shoulders with cautious hope. There, thin rays of dawn light gleam through the dawn curtains. My body practically moves on its own. I march to the window and wrench the curtains open. Morning daylight fills the chamber. I've never been happier to see the sun peeking over the mountains like an old friend. Though, the moment the curtains lift, a small beige shape moves with it across the floor. A rat? I hate rats. I've always been scared of them. When I hop away from the shape, I observe how it doesn't continue to move. I bend to inspect it, using the fire iron for support. It's just a furled scrap of parchment, brown and frail with age. It is an unusual sight, considering how freed of dirt and clutter the rest of the room is. Would you look at that? He's finally missed a spot. I suppose a vampire doesn't enjoy cleaning under the curtains, lest the sun sneak up on him unawares. I turn the paper over, noting the smudge of charcoal rubbing off on my thumb. Part of a larger drawing, maybe? Maybe even one of those enormous portraits I'm sorely missing. I'm sure it's worthless, but no harm holding on to it. Perhaps the vampire will appreciate my help in tidying up. I try and fail to hold back a yawn that makes my entire body shudder. The bloom of sunlight fixes in the sky, though refreshing to see, also serves as a reminder of how much time has passed, of how little sleep I've gotten. There won't be a better time to get some rest. I look about the chamber one final time To be so surrounded by various furnishings is a mystifying sort of torture. Despite how all the nights of sleeping on the ground left me yearning for the comfort of a cushion, I know I can't sleep here. The vampire needs only to close the curtains to accost me in my sleep. Back outside I go. I mean, could be worse. The days are long this time of year. I'll have plenty of time to try climbing the ledge when I awake. I grab a decorative pillow from a sofa. It's not much, but it'll make my cobblestone bed a little more bearable. I retrace my steps to the estate and practically collapse onto the first ring of sunlight I find. I awake from a dreamless, restless slumber into the cold of evening. Sitting up with a jolt, I scan the sky with mounting dismay. Sundown again. Already? How could I have slept for so long? Well, you're very tired. The clenching ache of my bones and blossoming bruise on my skin reveals the answer to my unspoken question. My stamina is spent. I won't be able to run the way I did yesterday. No, damn it. It feels like the very shadows are reaching for me, streaking across the ground like long claws. And speaking of claws, from the shade nearby, the vampire looks down at me with flat displeasure. My fingers curl instinctively around the fire iron. You're still here, on the ground no less. Where else would I be? Well, I figured you would have climbed onto the roof, run some mental calculus to determine the best angle of approach, and then leapt into the moat to swim to freedom. A beat passes as I stare at him. Yes, that would be very practical, but anyone who tries it will surely splatter against the rocky ledge below. Perhaps, and even if they made it to the water, they would discover the alligators in the moat. Alligators? Really? No. What the hell? I think I liked you more when you were menacing me about what crimes I'd committed. She dislikes the taste of her own medicine. Shocking. He folds his arms behind his back as he paces around me. I'm very aware that he can grab and drag me into the shadow if he so desires, but he's choosing not to. You never did tell me what you did to get sent here. You're right, I didn't. We stare at each other now, sharing an ugly pause. But I apologize for my behavior last night, and for making a mess. Truly? He looks as though he's expecting a punchline. Yes, truly. I don't know what it's like to own an estate, but I'm sure it's dreadful having someone run through it. Indeed. Will you tell me what you're planning to do with my fire iron? What, this whole thing? I could lie to him, but I see little point of it. Well, I've developed a skill for enthralling an audience with tall tales. It's not as if I can trick them into believing my stories are real. Unless they're children, of course, and the pacing vampire hasn't seemed terribly childlike thus far. In any case, I'm not a good liar. When one is not a good liar, honestly, is by far the better policy. I mean, honesty is usually the best policy, you know. Usually. Especially if you don't want to anger a vampire. If you lived in me, I would have tried to swing it at you. But I also thought I could use it as a handhold to get over the ledge. I cannot begrudge you for your caution against me. But using a fire iron as a handhold? Really? The ledge is made of solid stone. It's old, isn't it? Surely the stone has weathered down over the years. It most certainly has not. You would begrudge me for trying everything at my disposal? I might, if you ruin my fire iron in the process. You need not try much. Inventive tactics if you agree to barter with me. Oh, he still wants the loot. Right. Yeah, about that. I'll have you know I'm extremely well trained. And travel. Well trained. Well, travel more. How informed are you about recent history and new discoveries throughout the world? What makes you think I would be interested in such things? Well, you mentioned you were open to trading knowledge. I remember it like it was just yesterday. Because it was yesterday. I was making a joke, vampire. You can be... Every 2 years I receive a new guest at my estate. Each guest has some capacity to tell me news of the outside world. I have previously offered her freedom in exchange, but hearing news of the outside world loses its appeal when one is not welcomed to participate in it. But some men and women have nothing else to give. Surely you would not deprive this opportunity from a future guest when you have more to offer than this. My loot feels heavy against my back. What else can I offer that amounts to the price of my freedom? Please, I can't give it to you. He scoffs at me. Just when I thought you were seeing sense. But I may yet be amenable as you have been to me. Last night, I hadn't fully understood that you play music as your primary profession. Not at first. My recent slew of guests have been cutthroats and highwaymen. I forget that I also house scientists and artists. I presume you must be good at your craft. As such, you need your loot more than I do. The sudden unexpected empathy leaves me speechless. He takes my silence as permission to continue. I ought to also admit, it has been a very long time since someone has told me no. It irritated me to hear, but it is within your right to say. Forgive me for making it seem otherwise. As if our cordial conversation hasn't been astonishing enough, the vampire inclines his head towards me. You're forgiven. But wouldn't everyone have fought you to the bitter end? I imagine there must have been several no sprinkles around in there. He chuckles wearily. Wirely? Well, when properly bound and restrained, one's capacity to fight to the bitter end is quite limited. I expect this lends itself to making my guests more amenable to negotiation and to giving me anything I should desire. Oh, he really wasn't expecting to break free of my bounds, right? Enough of this matter. I propose we approach this from a new angle. What do you want, mortal? If freedom has no strong appeal for you, perhaps you'd be more interested in power? In immortality? No, I don't want to be turned into a vampire, actually. I don't miss the saccharine way he said the last word. No, I'm fairly sure I do want freedom. I can't imagine what price I'd have to pay for the other two. My stomach growls. But I could do with some food. Food. Yeah, food. Even if I get out of here, the nearest village is miles away. I won't get far on an empty stomach. You would ask a vampire to feed you. A marvelously modest start to our negotiative relationship. Your empty stomach shall be filled. I should have a surplus of blood lying around here somewhere. I'm a human, I don't drink blood. I'm joking. I'm not so old that I've forgotten what mortals eat. Come with me. No, he's a comic now. He begins to lead the way. I struggle to my feet, but I have enough difficulty steadying myself that he pauses and turns to observe me. I end up using the fire iron to help me maintain my balance like a metal walking stick. You look pitiful. I'm sure. My apologies for not being the picture of grace after a 9-day hike with a slave-driving guardsman. Now, where exactly do you plan on taking me? The vampire is kind enough to slow his pace and walk with me in parallel tandem, though he stays in the shadows and I'm in the waning light. You are astoundingly paranoid. I'm taking you somewhere I can feed you, like we agreed. You mean to feed on me, don't you? No. He says it with such disgust that I gape at him, taken aback. Oh, don't even begin to act offended. Have you looked at yourself? Filthy, dragged to prison cells and mud. Your taste most certainly will be foul. I bite back a retort about how I'm supposed to taste. More importantly, you're really not going to kill and eat me? Ever? Covered in muck as you are, I have no desire to touch you. You doubt me? I don't know. It sounds like you'll attack me at the moment I'm clean. And I can't get a read on you. Maybe it's your fetish to lure your victims into a false sense of security? How easily you remark on a stranger's fetishes. I had my suspicions that you were a traveler, but I'm certain now you could not have been raised in Illuvia. Ah yes, beautiful Illuvia, kingdom of ungrateful prudes. They don't appreciate me here at all. I am quite certain they did not. You have a seat and wait here, though I can't guarantee the chairs won't bite. Very funny. He smirks a little at that, though he turns as if to hide it. The kitchen is nearby. I won't be long. I caught a glimpse of his kitchen during my exploration last night. I noticed it was stocked with well-loved pans and utensils, but I never imagined that meant he used them with any frequency. I mean, what would you use the pans for and utensils? Because you, like, how do you cook with blood? Like, can you make dishes with blood? Blood soup, maybe? I guess you could make some blood soup. But other than that, a shake? Blood shake? What else can you do? Because what would you do with pans? What can you make with a pan and blood? A pancake? A blood pancake, maybe? I don't know. I expect you'll stay put, woefully wounded as you are. If you wander off and I can't find you, I'll have to deposit your meal into the moat. Ah, very well, I'll tame my adventurous spirits for the time being. Wouldn't want your imaginary alligators to be fed in my place. You're catching on. Good girl. To this word, the vampire returns in short order. He sets a tray loaded with roasted roots and grilled perch before me, a simple enough meal, but one of the most beautiful sights I've seen in recent memory. It's not a plate of blood. It is not. Shall I switch it out for you? No, I'll be quiet. I reach for a fork and slice into the fish, excited to savor my first meal in days. I take the first bite and it's awful. Some of the prison slop tastes better than this burnt, oversalted tragedy. Even stranger, I taste hints of cinnamon, garlic, and coffee? At this point, I have no idea what I'm eating, but I'm too hungry to stop. I must have outdone myself. Don't forget to breathe. Mortals need air in their lungs, I hear. Is it delicious? It is delicious, isn't it? No! But my fork pauses against my lips. I mean, should I insult his cooking? In addition to doing everything that I've done? It's really not, be honest. Best meal I've ever had. You know what? Honestly, the best policy, right? Let's be honest. God, it's really not. It's one of the worst cooked fish I've had in my life, but it tastes better than starvation. The vampire regards me with an unreadable expression. His next words are as slow as they are measured. I've served more than 100 guests in my lifetime. Not a single one of them has described it as, I quote, better than starvation. Without constructive criticism, how will you improve? Surely you will not begrudge me for being honest. The vampire watches me finish my next bite, eyes narrowed. No matter, I care not what you think of my cooking. I think you care. His lower lip is unmistakably jutted into a small pout, but I don't get to see it for long. Now that I have given you a meal, you will now give me something I want in return. Why do you keep insisting on these inane little trades? He shrugs his shoulders with a touch of derision. It is my nature. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. No service without a cost. Fine, vampire. Can I interest you in a song? He arches a brow and says nothing, but I can tell I've piqued his interest. I've seen your books, all technicality, no whimsy. It must have been some time since you've heard a compelling story, right? I shift my lute into my arms, strumming it once for intrigue, a tempting little preview. Very well, bard. A song in exchange for the meal. I lower my gaze to my lute, heaving a sigh I don't know I was holding. Good. I just have to play a single song. It's a simple request, one I've fulfilled thousands of times over in several dozen taverns, but the thrill of anticipation is making my fingers jitter. Just yesterday I was grimly certain that I would never perform again. Now I'm performing for a vampire who was supposed to tear me to shreds. I trace a fingernail over a single string. Then I pluck at each string sequentially, testing and tuning in turn. And then I began to play. The vampire, who now has a perpetual proclivity for pacing, slows and pauses mid-step to watch me with his hands folded on a writing table. My voice turns into the best weapon I've ever wielded, stronger and sharper than any knife or fire iron. Notes trickle from my lungs, rush to my throat, and pour onto my lips into a song that floods the room with a tale most forlorn. The ballad I've chosen starts melancholic. It follows a young man as life takes from him. His father is the first to be taken, life cut short by the plague. His betrothed the next, abandoning him for a wealthier man. Jesus. This, I mean, should I really sing a sad song for a vampire? I mean, shouldn't I just entertain him with something nice? Something like, I don't know, like... what would vampires like? Some metal, probably? When he's brutally mugged and left for dead, he feels as though his last remnants of peace have been torn to shreds. He finds himself alone, left behind. Oh, sorry, 1 second. Why? Sorry, I can't see the chat, and that's I don't know what's the problem with the... Okay. His mind is swallowed whole by the rage and grief and self-loathing, until one day he decides it's his turn to take. He takes a torch to the stables of his former betrothed. He takes a noblewoman's heart with false oath and pretty words. He takes the world by storm, molding it like wet sand to fulfill his every desire. When I finish the song, I offer the vampire a small bow. Throughout my entire performance, his gaze clung to me like a thorn, never once wavering from my body. Hello! Hi Janet, hello! Jen J777. That's what a wretched protagonist. I mean, what did you want? Jesus Christ. It's a sad song. Well, it's a weird song, but anyway. You don't like it? It's one of my most requested tavern songs. How baffling to hear the human men find inspiration in an egocentric finale. I mean, yeah, maybe. The point is that he turned his life around, right? Even if he didn't become like a great person in terms of, you know, morality, it's still, you know, a life-changing event, right? There's a version of this song with a female protagonist. It's not always requested by men. Another unexpected revelation. Although I find the song message disagreeable, I'll concede that you sung it well. Oh, thank you. We lapse into a brief silence, not quite looking at each other. To my surprise, he's the one who speaks next. This estate, I often forget that it's what it's like to have more than the sound of my own thoughts, and of cicadas crying in the night. Aww, Wilbur. With nothing to interrupt the passage of immortality, silence can be maddening. How much do you earn at these taverns of yours? How many songs did it take for you to afford an instrument of that quality? How many songs? I've never thought of it that way. It doesn't really work like that. I look down at my lute, running my fingers over the surface. It was given to me, which means I never actually had to pay for it, but I don't need to share that with him. Sometimes I compose original songs on commission, which is more time consuming but affords me more gold. As for crowd work, a classic in a well-stocked bar on a good night would net me several dozen coppers and a handful of gold. I suppose it amounts to 100 songs or so if I combined the two. Of course, saving up for an artisan instrument would take even longer. This VIN has only text or interaction. It does have well, if you mean interaction as in, you know, choices, like there's interaction because you can make choices, yes. Now, I'm not sure if those choices exactly lead to different outcomes, like to different endings, but there are different choices throughout the game, yes. Usually how you apply, you know, how your character, the bard, applies to people asking. But it's not, like, you do have some choices, yes. Yes. 100 songs, you say? 100 songs over 100 nights, and I will ensure you have food, hygiene, and eventually safe passage from the estate. Hygiene? But if I'm clean, you'll want to suck my blood. Then you can clean in the day and dirty yourself up in the night if it pleases you. Do what you will. I mean, that sounds like a weird way of living. It's like, no, I'd rather be clean. But yeah, or I'd rather just not, wash then. His words hang in the air between us like a haze. Despite the numerous opportunities he's had to hurt me, he hasn't laid a hand on me all night. If my safety really is guaranteed, it's a tempting deal to take. I mean, yeah, sing every night for him, 100 songs, like, one song every night, and then I'm free? I'll take that deal. Besides, it's not like I have many other options, true. Just some songs and you let me go? You won't try to steal my loot while I sleep? You take me for a common thief? How dare you? Such an appalling accusation when you can clearly see I still have all my fingers. The vampire raises his hand for me to see. The familiarity of this gesture is uncanny. Well, it seems to me that a powerful vampire like you can recover from serious wounds in an instant. You could once have been amputated at the elbow for all we know. And speaking of vampires, I seem to recall a legend that suggests your kind can't cross running water. Which means you can't leave the estate either, can you? I'm curious to know what crime you committed to be sent here. Enough. I'll wait your song tomorrow. He stands to leave. Wait! Wait! Okay, wait, see? Okay, we got another choice. Okay, should I be... Maybe I shouldn't be like... Good night, sweet prince. Don't let the bedbugs bite. I hope you see me in your nightmares. Oh, come on. Both choices are weird. I mean, okay, he's offered you a pretty good deal, and then you're either being, nasty to him, saying that you want nightmares, or you're being, very flirty. I'll be flirty. I'd rather be flirty than risk angering the vampire. Good night, sweet prince. Don't let the bedbugs bite. You realize I'm not going to sleep. I just no longer wish to be in your company. Well, then I hope the bedbugs do bite you. Keep speaking that way, and there may be more biting than you bargained for, mortal. I clamp my mouth shut. He strides to the nearest window. But where does he go? Because he turns into a bat and he flies off, but... Like before, he erupts into a mist and takes off into the night in the shape of a bat, but this time, he's left me with a half-finished plate of unsauced fish. Chapter 4. Harmonic Conversations. So what do we do during the day? Do what you will, the vampire said. I was reluctant to believe it when he gave me free roam of the estate, but his sins made no move to impede me. I was allowed to wander wherever I pleased. I discovered little of note, just more books and the continued absence of dust. Nothing more suspicious than the errant scrap of paper from my first night. Despite his best efforts my best efforts to distrust him, the vampire only appears to feed me some disgusting fish and claims his song. He stays long enough to make write commentary sometimes and small talk other times, but in physical proximity he's giving me a wide berth. Berth? Song, poof, song, poof. He's polite enough, I suppose, and utterly uninterested in causing me harm. That was enough to move me from a cobblestone bed to a cushioned one. Oh, she moved into the castle. The days soon blend together like the colors of a sunset. Other than my fading bruises and brief performances, there's little to mark the passage of time. I mean, you could start reading some stuff. The monotony of our routine sways my feelings of weariness into restless puzzling. Questions swarm my mind like locusts, and my aimless wandering doesn't yield enough fruit to feed them. I like to sate my burning curiosity by interviewing my vampire. Well, this isn't interlude with a vampire, but I'm not sure how to approach him when he vanishes after my song's final notes. Besides, I still have every reason to sleep with a fire iron wedged under the door handle. Every so often, I'm startled awake by blood-curdling screams. I ventured out from my room more than once, fire iron in one hand and my dagger in the other. I tracked the noise up the many flights of stairs, worried I would stumble upon the vampire feasting on an unlucky traveler who washed up the river. But then I would stand at the foot of his coffin for a time, waiting to hear signs of a struggle, waiting to see pools of blood oozing across the floor. But I was always met with an eerie, unmoving silence. I went back to sleep with my bed pushed against the door each time, determined to keep out whoever or whatever was making these horrible sounds. Although I'm sure I would have run into them by now if anyone else is living in the estate. One can never be too careful. So who's doing the screaming then? It's not a vampire, right? No, he can't be. Still, a harrowing of those noises have been. Sleeping in an actual bed is incredible. I'm starting to feel pampered. The food still leaves much to be desired though. But I have pillows, blankets, and the softest pelled carpet on my floor. A creepy estate is indubitably better than camping with stinky, surly guardsmen and sleeping on the ground. It's a hassle to shove my bed on and from the door, but I think it's a small price to pay. Brisk, invigorating air fills my lungs as I step into the courtyard. A shiver scuttles across my spine as I settle into dewy grass. I position my songwriting journal in my lap, having recently freed it from my clothes with some careful incisions. I always get lost in thought when I turn its pages. The act of deciding on a song makes my heart swell with calm contentment. After choosing one of my older pieces, a spirited melody I wrote when I was younger, I wrapped my lute over my shoulder and began to practice. 1 second, I just have to drink something because my throat is starting to hurt because it's drying. There's a lot of text in this. By the way, this visual novel, according to its Steam page, it has over 42,000 words, which means it's not a super long one. It's a game that would be, a few hours long, maybe, well, allegedly up to 3 or 4. Of course, it all depends on your reading speed. My performance occurred in crowded areas before I came here. I had to compete with a clamor of moving people, from passers-by to rankest drunks. Here in the grass, I find myself not needing to fight for coin or attention. I can focus on my music, and nature itself is my ensemble. I sing softly, timing my rhythm with the shifting trees and the gurgles of the moat. I like to imagine my notes, quiet though they are, carrying far into the forest, reverberating down mountains. Performing without an audience? My pulse quickens, startled by the sudden voice, my fingers slip, the next strum is discordantly off key. I squint skywards, trying to make out shapes in the darkness. Reclined across a brick parapet overhead, the vampire stares down at me with his usual flat expression. I slam my journal shut and hide it behind my back. Did you mean to sneak up on me? You'll have to try harder than that if you want to catch me off guard. In an easy, soundless motion, the vampire drops to the ground like a falling feather. He saunters towards me, eyes glimmering like diamonds in the dark. The longest is... Umineko, I don't know, what do you mean? The longest? Longest what? Longest visual novel you've played? I can assure that if I were to try harder at such a thing, you would not wish to be the recipient of my attention. And I'll have you know that I was here first. Then I suppose I've disturbed you? I didn't mind. His reply was faster and more decisive than I anticipated. My heart hammers harder against my ribs. What is this? Fear? Am I really afraid of a speedy retort? Ridiculous. I mean, it still makes sense for you to be scared, because you know he can kill you. So that's normal, right? Like, yes, you'd still be frightened even after all these days. Until you escape the castle, until you're off the, you're away from all this, then yeah, I would be scared as well. In a vain attempt to hide weakness, I hover my hand over my chest. No, I suppose I wouldn't mind a free ballad. Shouldn't you be hibernating in the rafters this time at night? I don't normally perform for another hour or two. Not tonight. He gestures to the night sky. The moon above us looks swollen, rounder and larger than I remember ever seeing it. Even so, it is a mere full moon. Is a mere full moon really so impressive? I mean, full moons are pretty cool. I part my lips to express my thoughts when a warm shadow inches across the moon's surface, spreading from its left side like a cocoon around the caterpillar. A blood moon? Soon the moon is as red as a sunset, a glowing rosy marble anchored in the night sky. A blood moon? A total lunar eclipse is a technical term, though you may call it what you like. It only occurs 3 times a year. The people of Illuvia insist that a blood moon is a bad omen, and seeing one during my travels was a foreboding sight. Yet the vampire watches the moon with such earnest intensity. I fear his admiration for it is contagious. Well, it's beautiful. What does it mean for you? Are you more powerful while it lasts? The vampire barks out a small, surprised laugh, and his eyes cut away from stargazing to glance at me. No, not at all. I simply... He folds his arms behind his back. I enjoy the view. The parapet is the best spot to observe the heavenly bodies in the sky. The ground is a close second. The vampire tilts his head, watching me with an expression I've never seen him wear before. Confused guilt, maybe? What is it? A number of words in case like it's like in the like, oh, you mean like in a bio? It's a very long one. Okay. I don't know. Umineko. I've never played that. I've never heard of it. I mean, I haven't really played a lot of visual novels. I've only really started playing them maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago. Up until then, I've never really played any. I did cover quite a few though on my channel. There's a playlist for that. My hand twitches, ready to seize the dagger at my belt. Aww. What? He sees me in the light of the blood moon and he's falling in love with me? I've been referring to you as a bard and mortal all this time. I don't believe I ever asked for your name. Oh. I rest my hand over my lute, relaxing somewhat. You're right. You yelled. We yelled at each other in the hall and never really introduced ourselves. You can call me. Oh, I can change the name. No, I like Abigail. That's fine. I'll go with Abigail. Abigail. Yes, it suits you. Does it? He smiles at me enigmatically. You can call me Lucius. Lucius. His name weighs on my tongue like a stone. I never imagined myself learning it. With how often he's alluded to his immortality, it slipped my mind that he must have been a human man once. Well, once a long time ago. Actually, we don't know how long ago. We don't know how old he is. We never really talked about that. It's a humbling thought. Moreover, this is the longest amount of time we spent without the distraction of music or bartering. He's even feeling affable enough to learn my name. Well, maybe he wants to get to know his food. I should try asking him questions. I may not get a better chance than this. Lucius, if I ask you some questions, will you insist on making it a barter? Oh yeah, cause he wants that all the time, right? I mean, no, it could be a quid pro quo. Like I ask him one question, he asks me one question, and then we just go back and forth like that. The vampire doesn't respond for a while. Well, it depends on the question. I suppose that's fair. How about this? You don't have to answer a question if you don't want to. I can move on to the next one, and we'll talk for as long as you're willing to entertain me. Now I'm the one entertaining you, and at the generous cost of nothing? What an amusing turn of events. I'm surprised you're so eager to talk to me. Well, I believe you said something about the maddening silence of eternity. I began to understand what you meant. I see. Ask your questions then, Abigail. I will not ask for you to trade your possessions, but I may like to quell my own curiosity in exchange. Okay. He agreed. I wet my lips with anticipation. There's something... Sometimes this noise, it sounds like screaming. That doesn't sound much like a question. I'll rephrase. What? The source of the noise will not hurt you. It is now your turn to answer my question. Where are you from? I'm from Romania. I'm from Romania, the land of vampires. But from the land of actual vampires, not vampires that just want to hear bards, you know, playing their lute. I'm from the land of vampires that actually, you know, kill people. Like proper monsters, proper undead monsters. Come on. The haste with which Lucius changed his topic is unexpected, but not altogether unwelcome. He did sate my curiosity to a degree. I mean, no, he didn't. He didn't really do that. He just said that it wouldn't hurt me. But they're screaming in the night. That's scary. It scares me. Hopefully I'll be able to ask more questions about that. Because it's either him or another person. There's someone else somewhere around in the castle, or I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe he's torturing someone. Maybe he's feeding on someone. I'd like to know where those screams come from. Tell me something. As a bard, what do you know of the stars? A simple question that leads to a comprehensive answer. Wise play, vampire. I observed the pinpricks of light above us, winking in and out of the mauve cover of night. I don't remember the last time I relaxed enough to admire them. Before my arrival here, looking at the stars meant I wasn't looking over my shoulder. I needed to watch my own back, keep myself safe and alive. Though I sang of beauty and adventure, it seemed pointless to actually indulge in such things. I mean, seems like her life was pretty adventurous. I was far more focused on where I would lay my head or earn my next coin. She wasn't that good of a bard, what can I say? She had to travel a lot and she was not making a lot of money, so she's not that great. I mean, you know, she wasn't that popular. Maybe her voice wasn't that great, the songs weren't that good, I don't know. How strange to be able to indulge in stargazing now with a vampire standing nearby. I traced different patterns in the sky, moving with practiced ease between each dot. The horned serpent always points north. Even as its body shifts, its tail will tell you where you've been and where you must go. Ah yes, the horned serpent. Anything else? Well, it's hard to navigate using the others, but I know a few stories. This box-shaped cluster is the treasure trove of the goddess Melandronal? Melandronal? I don't know. Oh, that's a weird name. Supposedly, it contains every possession humans have lost through their lives, and I draw my finger between the 7 brightest stars in the sky. That's the first king's crown. This game is like Beauty and... Yes, yeah, it does have this feeling. It does have a Beauty and the Beast feeling, yes. Yeah. The stories say he bequeathed it to the heavens and offered an offering to the gods to keep his bloodline on the throne. It's actually funny. Illuvia hasn't had a king in centuries, and most certainly isn't his bloodline anymore. It seems the gods played a nasty trick on him, huh? Lucius chuckles. It's such a low and abrupt sound that I lose my train of thought. They may have indeed. Abigail, I may know a story that you do not know. Shall I share it with you? Oh, he's sharing now, okay. I arch my eyebrow at that. Who says I don't know the story? You're being unfair, vampire, making me play guessing games. Lucius, right. You're being unfair, Lucius. Then tell me this, Abigail. Do you know the story of when the stars first appeared? I mean, they were always there? There's a story behind that? Aside from the idea that each one was placed in the sky by the gods, I suppose I don't know this one after all. Well, you know, it all started with the two, with the two serpents. Abzu and Tiamat. And Tiamat was like, no, I'm kidding. I don't know if like the Sumerian mythology had, I mean, maybe they had an explanation for the stars, but I don't remember. Like, I don't remember that. Because they were, I don't know. Okay, never mind. I just keep thinking of that. I've, a few months ago, I've been reading, you know, about the creation. Well, not exactly creation, I mean, about the story of the rise of Marduk, which was Babylon's patron god, and they use like Sumerian Akkadian myths initially, and then they change it. Well, they altered it, let's say, to make Marduk, you know, the supreme god. But you know, the previous stuff anyway. So it's a very interesting story. Wait. Back. Sorry. Okay. So I suppose I don't know this one after all. I knew it. Oh, don't gloat. Are you going to share the story with me or not? He lets out another low chuckle before he dares to continue. I suppose no one knows for certain how the stars were created, but one of my guests shared with me a tale from his homeland. Unlike the self-serving stories Illuvia dictates to his children, his kingdom believes that humans were not always a fixture in our realm. He believed that once, a very long time ago, the world existed in an endless night, a quiet, pitch-black quilt of eternity, unbroken by castle sprites and bonfire smoke. When humans began roaming the earth, they would hold their newborns up to see the divine darkness. I think I've read a story like that before, like a story where everything was dark and humans existed in the dark, and later, you know, there was the sun and, you know, the stars above them, dotting the skies in this peacefully lonely world, were believed to befriend these infants and provide protection. The stars were there when we first arrived, and they will persist long after we are gone. That is what he believed. Well, that's very true. Thus, watching the night skies when we are closest to glimpsing what it was like at the beginning of the world and what it will be at its end. Oh gods, did your guest earn his freedom with his story? I would have given it to him, yes. His cryptic phrasing gives me pause, and Lucius falls quiet. His gaze remains transfixed on the sky. I think he meant that he didn't give the freedom to the person who told him the story. He killed him. Meanwhile, I'm having trouble tearing my eyes from him and from the melancholic air he wears like a heavy cloak. I don't know how I could ever have missed it before, because I think that sadness has always been there. The more time I spend here, the harder it becomes to see him as the monster Illuvia led me to believe he was. Perhaps that's what makes him dangerous, or perhaps... Oh my god, don't fall in love with a vampire! Come on, Abigail, what are you doing? I shiver again, rubbing my arms as a breeze whisks through my hair and clothes. Lucius turns promptly away from the sky, clicking his tongue at me. If you are cold, head inside. It will be challenging to play a lute with icicles for fingers. No, I'd like to stay out here for a little longer. Monsters aren't supposed to watch the sky and tell you stories about where the stars came from. Monsters are supposed to spare your life and cook disgusting fish for you. Well, I mean, they could do that. Monsters can do things that seem nice and good for the time being, and then the wrongness of my perception of him is eating away at me. I need to ask him my next question. Were you human once, Lucius? How... It doesn't take him long to pick up where I trail off. How did I turn into this? No, He holds up his hand to stop me. He's not bothered by the exact phrasing of my question. I was human once, Abigail, and in many ways I still am. You're well aware of the standard method of vampiric infection, I'm sure. Be bitten by one, mix their blood with your own. then there's usually some manner of death or near-death experience. But then, voila, you're a ravenous immortal of the night. But I suspect you're also aware that I was not created in the same way as others have been. I'm quite alive rather than undead. I have no sire or coven to compel my allegiance. I was not aware of all that, but from his subtext, I gather that the blood-curdling screams aren't coming from another vampire. Good to know. Additionally, as I hope you've noticed, I have not lost my morality to bloodlust. Morality or mortality? I don't know what... Sorry, was it morality? Morality, yes, yeah, cause yeah. It was your most likable trait during our wayward first meeting. Good. He catches himself as if he didn't mean to agree with me before he shakes it off. Just as humans have notable differences, not all vampires are the same. But the people of Illuvia are keenly familiar with the ferocity of vampire spawn, who routinely raid their homes and eat their children. Why children? Jesus. I do not blame Illuvians for believing the worst of me by proxy, though I do find an occasional amusement in the things they say. Tell me, Abigail, what tales are the good people spinning about me these days? Or better yet, have you any theories of your own? Theories of my own? I don't think so. I've heard bits and pieces of vampire lore, but I've never felt the need to speculate. I'd never even seen a vampire before I met Lucius. Well, there's all sorts of legends about you, but some were more akin to tall tales. People refer to you as sort of an ominous presence or a natural disaster. As far as I know, you were created, as you say. One of the guardsmen who captured me, he believes you stole from the gods. Did I? I'm impressed with myself. How did I manage such a feat? Well, they say you broke into the church's wine cellar and drank your fill. As punishment, the gods cursed you with a voracious appetite for the blood of your own people. I've said before that I'm not a thief, but overindulging in wine does sound like something I would do. I've always had a fondness for reds. Any other thoughts? Any other thoughts? Any other thoughts? You're what happens when a man mates with a bat. What? You dealt with demons. I think the mating with a bat sounds more funny. You're what happens when a man mates with a bat. I beg your pardon? Okay, this wasn't specifically about you. It's just something I overheard in the tavern. But since you do turn into a bat, I thought the idea had some merit. They were talking about how vampires are born after a man, you know. When a man and a bat... When a man loves a bat, he will take that bat and kiss it, and then he'll make sweet, sweet love to it, and then... that would be weird. Today full game on live? I'm gonna play for definitely another 40-ish minutes. I don't know if we're gonna play the full game today though. Usually I don't like to finish games on live stream because I want, like, I don't want to spoil things if people want to play it on their own, but you know, we'll get far. We'll get far into the game. Implying my poor late father took common animal to bed. He'll be rolling in his grave tonight. I mean, I didn't imply that, I just heard that. I mean, you know. But perhaps you're not far off from the truth. My mother had her bestial moments. What? Don't talk like that about your mom. Jesus, dude. Oh my, what an astonishing thing to say about one's... Yeah, exactly! Why would you say that about your own mother? Unless she was a bat. You took me into another guessing game, you know. Are you going to tell me the truth, or will you keep goading me to recite absurd theories? His white fangs gleam when he smiles, reflected against the starlight. Why? If I revealed all my secrets now, I fear there would be no riveting banter left to pass the time. We wish to stay the hand of maddening silence for as long as we can, do we not? I mean, yeah, but that implies that we would not have anything to talk to for the remaining days. That's a little odd. That would be a little odd to assume that, you know? Fine. We do. Maybe I can ask you about simpler things? I retrieved a small charcoal scrap I found on my first night of exploring, holding it up for him to see. I found this under some curtains. What can you tell me about it? Is that... Lucius moves towards me and halts mid-step. His hands linger in the air between us, as if the scrap is a loaf of bread and he hasn't had a meal in weeks. The intensity of his reaction compels me to stand in turn. After a moment of hesitation, I gently set it in his palm. Lucius practically cradles the scrap, his fingers passing reverently? I think it's reverently, over the smudged charcoal. I just thought I was being helpful by tidying up a spot you missed. I was going to tease you about it. You actually recognize it? I do, yes. His demeanor has completely changed, almost to an unrecognizable degree. His stooped shoulders don't resemble the rigid, dry, humid vampire I've come to know. Then again, I hadn't taken the time to know him until tonight. He breathes out with shuddering difficulty, as if his lips have gone dry, but slowly he begins to speak again. I ripped it to shreds one night. I was so angry back then. The night I arrived? No, this was a long time ago. There was a portrait of someone I once knew. I shake my head when he starts to hand the scrap back to me. You don't need to give it back, Lucius. It was yours to begin with. Unless you ripped the drawing because you hate the person depicted. Do you not want it anymore? Lucius avoids my eyes, though he tucks the scrap carefully in his pocket. A pointed question. Humans really do prefer black and white thinking, don't they? He was referring to me by my mortality again, rather than by my name. It's complicated then? A sore subject? Yes. His snappy tone makes me flinch, but I hold my ground and refuse to let it show. Because how can hatred persist in a vacuum of eternity? Once anger has finished ransacking what remains of your soul, all that's left is exhaustion? Lucius narrows his eyes at me. How would you know such a thing? I give him an innocent little shrug. I'm not ready to change the topic to myself because I find myself genuinely wanting to know more about him. Lucius regards me for a little longer, tapping his fingers against his collarbone before he relents with a sigh. I see no reason to keep this secret from you. The portrait depicts the reigning monarch who exiled me here over 300 years ago, Her Majesty Hildegard Edgehaven. Oh, I had suspected we'd both been punished by members of the royal family, but to have it confirmed? My mind races as I bite my lip. I don't want to upset him any further with a poorly timed question. Carry on asking whatever you like, Abigail. Within reason, I will indulge your curiosity. My questions burst from me like water from a long-suffering dam. How did you come upon such a portrait? I hear it's illegal to depict the faces of royal family in common artwork. Just having one in your possession, it's an open act of rebellion, isn't it? His lips lift on one side, taking on a smug edge, not smudge, smug. I am well aware. What further punishment do you think the current crown can bestow upon me if they find out? Perhaps they will banish me to a different estate? Or perhaps they'll stop sending me guests, hoping in vain that I'll dry up like a prune from the lack of blood and attention. To answer your question, I described her face to an artist from memory. So you've seen her? You knew her from before? What did you do to Queen Hildegard? Did you break into her wine cellar? Or were you her former lover? She exiled you when she caught you in bed with another? Disgusting. No. We were never thus involved. Besides, I prefer to take one partner at a time. Juggling two seemed taxing at best. But based on your logic, on what you said... that's Abigail, sorry. But based on your logic and what you said when you met me, you must have committed a crime so deeply, grievously, utterly heinous to have been sent here. Am I wrong? It has been a long time since I last felt like I was sitting in a confessional booth. Well, I don't miss the glint of amusement that danced across his otherwise unflappable features. What of you, I did ask you first, as you said, and all this time I have been dying to know what unforgivable crimes you have committed. Oh, I've made a vampire feel like he's dying. Quite a feat on my part. I sneeze. You need to get indoors. Come, I'll walk with you. You'll not be beset by distant screams while I am by your side. Yes, alright, let's get indoors. How about a hint then? A hint about? Oh, you're still thinking about it. You're insatiable. Well, it's one of the most charming personality traits, my most charming personality traits. Come on, let's trade hints about why we're here, what crimes we committed. Will you go first? I will go first. He seemed satisfied with that, though he also decided to occupy his hands with a cleaning cloth. I watch him clean every surface he touches like a whirlwind of sanitation. He tends to settle into one of the various lounge chairs during our nightly performances, but without the backdrop of my music, I notice he seldom likes to hold still. Well, I'm waiting on your hint. I haven't come up with a hint yet. I glanced down at my lute and songwriting journal, trying to remember what it was like when I first held them in my hands. I remember how jealous the other girls were when our overseers chose to train me as an entertainer. It was a coveted position, and I was so proud. I remember the crushing disillusionment when I realized they would never allow me to play or to speak freely. The strict, inflexible lessons where they raped my knuckles with the cane for the slightest mistake. I remember how I swore that one day I'd say and do whatever the hell I wanted. Damn the consequences. Wow. You already know that I have a dog penchant of speaking my mind, Lucius. I grew up in a stifled home where this attitude was deeply discouraged. Once I broke free of them, I didn't want to hold myself back. I was drawn to everything I couldn't do while I was growing up. I wanted to see the world, and I did. There are times I've been relentless, unreasonable and careless, and in the name of acting freely, it's gotten me into trouble more than once. Being sent here is, let's say, the latest in a long line of consequences I've brought upon myself. I see. You grew up among people who wanted to break your spirit and punished you when you did not bend. The stifled home you describe sounds like a lot like an Illuvian one. You have much in common with the children here. More than you know. More than you know. Oh, wait. Why did she say that? More than you know? Illuvian children. I bite the inside of my cheek, taking a moment to weigh my options. As far as I can tell, he has been honest with me. Should I not be honest with him in turn? Lucius, I'm not from here. Sorry, I am from here, sorry. I'm from Illuvia. Okay, well, yeah, but he knew that. What? So you do know all of Illuvia's beliefs and customs, yet the way you act and carry yourself is in spite of them? It seems we are both rather insolent, you and I. Though they should have given you credit for turning out as entertaining as you did. I mean, yeah, I don't think they like entertaining when it goes against what they believe and what they want me to do and say. I don't act this way to spite them, not intentionally. I ran away at a young age and haven't returned in years. I suppose I've shed what little Illuvian manners I had. But if you left to see the world, why in heaven did you come back? A sore subject, I see. Don't you know, don't you owe me a hint? A hint. He echoes me, folding his arms in front of his chest. He finally ceases cleaning, or perhaps ran out of things to clean, and has settled into his usual velvet chase. A hint about what I did to end up here. Lucius aims his face at the ceiling, as if he could see the stars through it if he stared hard enough. I don't think I did anything wrong, Abigail. You don't? After I made myself vulnerable, told him where I'm from and detailed the shortcomings of my personality? The nerve. What does that mean? You don't think you did anything wrong. How does that qualify as a hint? That doesn't... I faltered as I noticed that Lucius isn't arguing with me, or even looking my way. Will you play me the song you were practicing outside, Abigail? I fear we do not have all the time in the world. I will be forced to return to my coffin before long. Forced? You say as if you can't sleep in a bed with the curtains curtains drawn shut. I would if I could. I dearly miss sleeping in a bed. Wait, you actually can't sleep in a bed? Why not? Questions, questions. Despite his gripping, Lucius does not leave me in suspense. Vampires are prone to compulsions. Universally, they cannot enter one's home without an invitation, and they cannot set foot across running water. I hear some vampires are even compelled to count spilled seed and grain, or to count the holes in a fishing net. Wow, that would be crazy. Like, wait, a fishing net? Sorry, I can't drink your blood right now. I have to count all the holes in the fishing net. That'll be fun. Oh, you know what? Maybe that's the thing. If you ever find yourself coming across a vampire, then I don't know, try to distract him with something that would that could make him, I don't know, OCD, like something that's unclean, or something that's like a puzzle, or you know, put something out of place. Because this guy, right, like Lucius is cleaning his estate. Maybe that's his compulsion, right? Well, one of his compulsions. He has to clean. He always has to clean. He can't stay still. He has to do something, right? Maybe other vampires have the same thing. So you know, if you find yourself, threatened by a vampire, just throw a riddle at him. Something like, something, or give him like open a Sudoku puzzle on your phone and like, hey, vampire, look, a Sudoku puzzle. Don't you feel compelled to solve it? And hopefully you're gonna survive. You just have to give up your phone, I guess. Or, well, maybe you don't have to give up your phone. You just have to, get the phone back from the vampire after, at dawn. Unless he takes it with him or with her in the coffin, then yeah, you have to get a new phone. Anyway, better than, lose your phone in your life. When she had exiled me, she also used... Sorry, I missed something. I have an additional compulsion. A curse, courtesy of Her Majesty Hildegard Edgehaven. She had made... when she had exiled me, she also used sorcery to bind me to a coffin. Aww. I cannot stray far from it lest my insides twist upon themselves, strangling me from within. Wait, but that just means that he can travel, he just has to have the coffin near, right? So that it won't be impossible to take the coffin and put it somewhere else. And he would be, in a different place. He'll still be near the coffin, and he wouldn't suffer. The first night I resisted the coffin's call and slept in a separate chamber. I woke vomiting blood. Naturally, this is far from ideal. I need to retain all the blood I have. You asked me if I hated the subject in the portrait. While it's true that my anger has faded into exhaustion, I do still find her abominable. But she's probably dead now, right? She knew how I despise tight spaces. Oh, he's claustrophobic. Oh god, Lucius, that's terrible. Terrible enough for us to move on to your nightly performance? Yes, of course, forgive me. I cleared my throat, brushing my fingers over my neck. What are you doing now? Is that where you'd like me to bite you? I yanked my hand away from my neck as if I touched a hot pan. Lucius! I jest. If I bit you there, you would die from the blood loss. Though, I would bite you if you asked it of me. Are you so certain that you're not interested in eternal life? You keep talking like a man who no longer wants to hear a song. Lucius raised his hands in surrender, though I catch sight of his shoulders still quaking with amusement. And I sing him another song. Chapter 5, Rhythm and Rain. The heavens are generous with rain this year. Within a fortnight of my stay, Black clouds had begun blotting out the moon. Oh, we can't see the moon and the stars. A few days later, we were neck deep in Luvia's rainfall season. Okay. At first, I was nervous that the moat would overflow and flood the estate, but the weather was wickedly fickle. The rain frequently stopped and began anew like a broken music box. Nonetheless, the ground outside was perpetually muddy, so I couldn't go outside much. I spent a lot of time indoors. I was reluctant to soil the only boots I owned. Well, I probably owned boots anyway. And Lucius gave me hell whenever I left dirty footprints in the halls. Of course, because he's a clean freak. He's like, oh my god, you went outside again, didn't you? Look at all this mess that you did. Now I have to clean. And he just goes behind you with a mop like, goddamn humans. God damn it, Abigail, you mortals, and you're just also dirty. Anyway, that will be funny though. Tonight, a thick fog hangs like a curtain outside. The windows shake and rattle, straining against the storm. Because I'm disinclined to set foot in violently dreary weather, I decided this is an optimal opportunity to write some new songs. Oh, okay, she's inspired. I was surprised to find a number of brushes, parchment, and a writing quill stowed away in a cupboard, and even more surprised to find an inkwell that hadn't dried out. I recall how the vampire told me he housed an artist once, and tried to picture whether said artist could have single-handedly smuggled in all these materials. He must have been much sneakier than me, or had a lot more pockets. If I were him, I would have prioritized smuggling in some food and weapons instead of art supplies. But I should be grateful to him in any case. I had made myself a bowl of soup, boiled turnip and mushroom, so I could write without being interrupted by hunger. Lucius's disgusting fish can only tide me over for so long. While I never had much interest in cooking and often survived on trail rations in the past, I do know how to feed myself in a pinch. Although my soup is only palatable due to some dried herbs I scrounged from I don't know that word from the nearby from a near empty pantry. There may be unforeseen perks of living in a vampire's castle, but gourmet meals are certainly not one of them. Thankfully, I've never had much interest in the finer things. While my soup cools, I start a small fire to keep myself warm. On the whole, my impromptu little workspace is comfortable. I've always wanted a writing nook, and this may be the closest I'll ever get to having one. Oh, come on, Abigail, be optimistic. Maybe you'll get away from this castle eventually, and you'll make it out there. You'll go to Illuvia's Got Talent, and maybe okay, I'm gonna guess that you're not gonna win the contest, Illuvia's Got Talent, but you may win, I don't know, you'll be like the third runner-up, and you get a recording contract, or at least a contract with a tavern. With a, really, like a very cool, big tavern that's at a busy crossroads, lots of people going there. You'll be able to sing every day. There's going to be a lot of people with money coming in. You can make it. You can get your own little workspace. Maybe your own house one day, Abigail. One day, if you believe in yourself. Unfortunately, I tapped the nib of my quill against the writing desk, glaring at the blank, loose-leaf piece of parchment. Call me a perfectionist, but I refuse to describe a song into my journal until I'm certain it's amazing. Besides, I found it's more freeing to write when I don't care for the paper I'm using. I scratch out the word before my quill completes the arc of the E. I have everything I need to write, don't I? But now that I'm sitting down to do it, my head feels as foggy as the weather outside. Maybe I'm being too hard on myself. Let's try this again. There once was an old farmer who... The way of each word feels hackneyed and rotten, like old apples. I feel like I'm choking on them. I flip the parchment over, feeling miserable with contempt. Stupid blank page. Before long, I find myself leafing backwards through my journal. It doesn't contain much of my original work, honestly. To survive as a traveling bard, I had to memorize and rewrite songs that were already popular, already known. See? She doesn't even use her original material, really. Original work, I quickly learned, was not often well received in an unruly tavern. Yeah, okay. Okay, that's cope, by the way. That's called cope. That's what we call cope. Abigail is, saying this not because people just like the popular songs and they just want to listen to. No, her songs weren't that great. She just needed more practice. That's the thing. She's not the greatest writer, but she can get to that. She sings well, she plays well. Writing, not so much. I've been booed, had tomatoes thrown at me, and even had gotten into brawls because someone wanted to hear a song I didn't know how to play. So I had to learn, I had to adapt, I had to make it work. At times, I even stolen promising lyrics from my peers and rivals. Oh, see? I told you she was stealing songs. She was committing copyright crimes. I hated doing it, but I did it anyway. And all for what? Freedom? Coin? Glory? Well, mostly coin. Gods, with so much time to think, I can't help wondering if the life I've led has been one worth living. The vampire was right about the maddening silence. It must be well past midnight. Lucius should be here any minute now. I realized then that while thoughts of his arrival used to fill me with dread, I recently looked forward to seeing him. We've been surprising each other with how easily the conversations came, how willing we were to talk. I often find myself trying to stay awake to finish a thought, only to be shooed to my bed the moment he catches me yawning. As much as it pains me, I just can't get the hang of the night cycles. I've tried, because being in his company is far more preferable than being stuck with my own. This leaves me cherishing the few hours we have together each night. Without even realizing it, I had flipped through every page of my songs, my hand paused over the inside cover of my journal. I gazed absent-mindedly at the strange runic symbol on the first page. Some sort of bejeweled pendant encircled by a knotted half-wreath of thorns, which has somehow resisted fading no matter how often I've touched it over the years. Brushing over the bold red ink, I wonder if I'm imagining the faintly sharp prickle across the pads of my fingers. Below the symbol, written in a hurried, clumsy scrawl, are the words, "Keep safe, O." I once felt at ease from such simple words. Looking at them now only tightens the knot at the pit of my gut. Maybe this is a sign that I just need to move on to bigger and better things. Yeah, see, exactly. That I've been too rooted in the past. Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, she definitely has childhood trauma. Maybe she needs to see a psychologist. Does Illuvia have psychologists? If they don't, then I know someone. I shut the journal. My chair squeaks against the floor as I stand up, resting my palms on either side of this blasted book. I could toss it in the fireplace if I wanted to. Here and now, I could break the final chains linking me to my past. I mean, no, you're not. But that's not the... Those aren't the final chains linking you to your past. The past is you. It's within you. Your memories are not they don't just disappear like that. So no, destroying the journal is not gonna help. Keep safe. Those were her instructions to me. Try as I might, I can't defy them. I gather the journal into my arms, cradling it against my chest. For a moment, I can still feel the blossom warmth from the words. Keep safe. I'm going to find Lucius. This silence truly is maddening. I gather my things, striding out into the hall, only to collide unwittingly into the vampire lurking outside. He catches me by the forearms, taking a step back to keep us balanced, although my journal and supplies stumble to the floor. Lucius! Abigail? Lucius releases me once he's sure I'm steady and immediately bends to pick the mess. No, don't! I seize the journal and hold it away from him. He eyes me with some measure of confusion, but shrugs and picks up the loose parchment instead. I see you've found some old supplies. I'm glad that they're getting some use, though I really thought the ink would have dried out by now. What have you written so far? There once was an old man on a farm. I snatch the documents from him. I won't have you making fun of my first drafts. What are you doing out here? I didn't wish to disturb you. You look like you were trying to focus. In vain, perhaps. There was not much to disturb. but you were trying to be considerate. Thank you. Lucius nods, dismissive but polite. He doesn't like to acknowledge gratitude. So what is the point of this game? Well, the point of this game is to go through the story of Abigail, the bard, and Lucius, the vampire, the castaway vampire. And we just go through it, we read, we choose Abigail's words at certain points in time. And who knows, maybe, you know, at the end we're gonna get free from this secluded castle, or we get to bang a hot vampire, a hot 300-year-old vampire. There's nothing to change the end. I don't know, actually. I have no idea if it has multiple endings. I don't know. This visual novel, Ballads at Midnight, may have just one ending or multiple endings. I don't know. For you to rush out of the chamber like a bat from a cave. Why? Rushing to seek inspiration elsewhere? No. God, I can't just admit that I wanted to talk to him until I forget my grievances. Isn't it time for our nightly ballad? He watches me through narrowed eyes, but favors me with a small smile. You need not hurry for such a thing. If you wish to write tonight, you may write. Come. What? Wait! Lucius all but pulls me back into the chamber, coaxing me to be seated once again at the writing desk. I scowl at him, drawing my knees to my chest. Lucius, you don't... Heels off the furniture. I scowl at him harder, but lower my legs to flatten my heels on the floor. I wanted to write, but I couldn't think of anything. You also never finished your soup. Oh, sorry, that's Lucius. You also never finished your soup, it's gone cold. He looks pointedly at my bowl. Also, probably he wants us to finish the soup and clean the bowl, because he doesn't want to clean after us. Because he's been doing that for many a day. You're a terribly slow eater, aren't you? I may yet expire before you finish it. I'm not a slow eater. I'm a distracted eater. Why? Do you want my soup? Here. I push it towards him. He gently pushes it back. No, thank you. My taste buds aren't quite what they used to be. A mortal's meal may as well be a mouthful of dust. That explains your cooking. Lucius arches brow at me. There's nothing hot about a vampire. They're cold. Well, yeah, must be a horrible experience. yeah, that might be true. Yes. I mean, unless they've drank blood recently, that blood would be warm, right? For at least for a while. Yeah, but maybe though. Yeah. Maybe they would be really cold. Forgive me, that was uncalled for. Have I done something to annoy you? No, not at all. I chew my lip. I don't think I want to write anymore, and I don't want any more of this soup. I was presumptuous then. I wouldn't go that far. Look, can we just talk for a while? That was just what I wanted, okay? He extends his arm, gesturing for me to take the opposite seat to him. I relocate gratefully away from the writing desk, slumping into the cushioned bench. You have something on your mind? Yes, but I don't want to talk about it. I understand. What would you like to discuss instead? Lucius leans forward with his elbows propped on his knees. With the candid way he's staring at me, I almost feel like I can tell him anything. See? He's trying to play psychologist, Lucius. He's like, okay, Abigail, tell me, what would you like, what's on your mind? You know? He's like, I'm listening to you, yes. He's being a copycat. He's trying to be play the guy who's like, oh, I'm so attentive, what do you need? But I'd rather not talk about myself, not yet. What do you eat, Lucius? I mean, you sustain yourself with blood, but if you only get guests every couple of years, and even then, sometimes you let them go or don't feed on them at all. I can make do with animal blood. Fish mostly, as the moat is rich with them. Really? Fish have like that much blood to... What? Wait, Do fish have blood? Like, no. He would probably eat some, like, some aquatic mammals, maybe. Those would have, like, actual, you know, proper blood that you can use. Oh, that really explains his cooking. Oh. Oh, because he's, yeah, okay. He sucks the fish, okay. That's another thing I've been wondering. If you can't cross the lake, how do you get the fish? By using tools like any civilized mammal. So, a fishing rod? You fish? Sometimes I use a net. Sometimes I use a spear and some rope. I have a very strong throwing arm. Against my better judgment, I observed his shoulders and upper arms, searching for any hints of bulging muscle under his sleeves. If Lucius notices me doing it, he keeps it to himself. For that matter, I'm surprised you haven't asked how I intend to ensure your freedom when I myself can't cross the water. Because I haven't thought about how I'll do when I leave. What I'll do when I leave. The thought feels like an anchor in my chest, a heavy reminder of the future. Well, I presume you'd tell me when it was time. Of course. I can also tell you early. I will simply throw you across the moat like a javelin. You wouldn't. He practically cackles as I recall from him. No, I wouldn't. There is another way. I will show you in due time. It's probably like a freaking tunnel under the castle. Oh, then good. We lapse into a hollow silence as my mind wanders back to my troubles, until the vampire starts making a tutting sound at me. He studies my face with intent, and I realize too late that my pleasantly neutral facade had at some point fallen into a frown. You're in low spirits tonight. Is the weather bringing you down? How else can I help? I suppose I could try telling you a joke, but I only know the one. And no, I shouldn't. I will refrain. It's quite filthy. Oh, he knows a filthy joke? Let me guess. It's about the brothel and the sign outside the brothel. Jesus, such copycats. That piques my interest. Well, I don't mind dirty jokes. I spend a lot of time in taverns, you know. I'm almost certain I've heard them all. No, Abigail, you don't understand. This is not meant for polite company. We don't need to be polite company all the time, do we? We can be a little impolite. It's not a little impolite. It is unforgivably dirty. Please, Lucius. Very well. Okay, let's hear his very dirty joke. I can't say I didn't warn you. It's not too late to change your mind. Lucius, you're killing me. Do you want me to beg? I don't think I can go on without hearing it. His laugh is a low rumble in his chest, and he still makes me wait several seconds before he finally delivers his dirty joke. A white horse falls in waist-deep mud. That's it? That's the dirtiest joke you know? What? Wait a minute. He tricked me. He played me like a fool. Oh, I should have been so furious with him, but indignant laughter is already bubbling from between my lips. What? How dare you? It's not even funny, you're the worst. My laughter ripples into a snort, and I know it's futile to try to contain it. Lucius smiles at me all the while, incorrigibly satisfied. Gods, I hate this vampire. I had a similar reaction when I first heard the joke. It pleased me to do it some justice. You burst out laughing? I don't remember my exact reaction. It was a long time ago. Well, do you remember who taught you that joke? A former guest, Gillian. Lucius' face softens and my laughter stops like a clogged drain. There's that sadness again. He didn't try to barter with that joke, did he? Oh gods, can you imagine? No, this was before I began bartering with people. A darker time. Were your dark times lifted with a joke about a white horse? Lucius smiles at me warmly. Would you like me to tell you about him? I'm surprised at myself when the words spill from my mouth. Not if it troubles you. I mean, if you wish to tell me, I will listen. Lucius hesitates, tapping on his collarbone until he musters the initiative to speak. When I was first exiled to this estate 300 years ago, there truly was no escape. I frequently fought with the desperate men and women who were sent here. They feared me even when I showed them kindness and reason, and made a point to attack me when I least expected it. My spine stifles. That frightened, desperate outlook sounds grimly similar to my own back when I first arrived. You had no choice but to defend yourself. I did try other methods in hopes of coexisting, of earning their trust, but yes, they tended to turn on me regardless. It often resulted in a fight to the death, their death at my hands. I could never resist untying them. I felt certain kinship for them, I suppose before it was inevitably dashed. It was never difficult to overpower them. They were mere humans, and I was an immortal being. I was becoming more powerful with age. Until one day, when I was careless, I had subdued an intruder and left her at the brink of death. Unbeknownst to me, conditions were ripe for her to turn. As a vampire spawn, she was vicious. Her anger overpowered any compulsion I had over her, and she managed to run me through in the same moment I ripped out her throat. Wow. Lucius' hand hovers over his chest, where his wound must have been. I was alive, but I was pinned down, paralyzed in place. I was lucky to have fallen in the shadows near my coffin. The vampire spawn was not so lucky. She was well and truly dead, and so she began to decompose, though those claws remained embedded in my chest as a parting gift. I was perpetually awake, but I couldn't move. I must have laid there for nearly 2 years. Lucius, I'm sorry. You run into a lot of strife when you become as old as I have. It is not unusual. Yes, but it must have been harrowing. Mostly, I was just bored. He's being aloof, but his hand is massaging his chest right above his heart. I assume he doesn't want to show weakness. Gillian was the one who found me there. He gave me a wide berth at first, approached only to use the vampire spawn's claws to cut his bounds before jumping away. Comically, really, but then I was practically a husk. I could sense him, but I could not move and could not speak. I could sense him coming and going each night, wandering the estate much like you've been doing. After some time he returned to my side and tugged the claws out of my chest. He what? I knew the story must have been leading there, but it was still a bit of a shock. Why on earth would someone release a petrified vampire? Why on earth indeed? Okay, let's save. He must have been incredibly kind. I suppose he felt some kinship for you? You were both trapped. He certainly was kind. Much too kind, I think. Lucius chuckles quietly. He was the one who drew the portrait, the scrap you found. He burned wood together to make charcoal, and he made all kinds of artwork during his stay. I destroyed much of his work when I lost him. I regret allowing my emotions to get in the way of reason. It just wasn't fair the way he convinced me to have compassion for others, the way his gentle nature allowed us to gather a motley little group. It wasn't fair the way he died. This little group of guests I had, they're the ones who figured out a way to escape this blasted estate. I encouraged Gideon to go with them, but he wanted to stay behind. He wanted to stay with me. Which meant, of course, that my very next guest was a cruel one. I walked the intruder rifling to my things while Gillian bled out in the courtyard. Wow. Death is a fate all mortals share. I know it too well, but it shouldn't have been his time. As I let the story sink in, my next words are quietly careful. Did you kill his murderer? Ruthlessly, but it gave me no satisfaction. Lucius heaved a heavy, shuddering breath. Gillian was still gone, and I was alone again, and I had no one else to blame. Oh, okay. Oh. Let's finish this chapter, by the way. We're 2 hours in, but if you like the live stream, give it a thumbs up right quick. It does help out a lot. It's a nice gesture and doesn't cost a thing. And if you're not a subscriber, subscribe, because this is the best channel online. Period. Best gaming channel online. You were in love with him. Well, let's ask that. Why not? You were in love with him, weren't you? You become more direct with each passing day, Abigail. Yes, I loved him. I'm no stranger to the company of men, women, and anyone in between. Neither was he. Though many years have passed, I still remember him fondly. He was a good man. It was some time after that when I began bartering with my guests. Immediately offering them freedom made them cagey. They suspected me of foul play, of being up to something. It was as if they needed to pay a price for their freedom. It helped them feel at ease, in control. It helped them make sense of Lucius' gestures to himself. I remember the scuffle we had when I first arrived, the way he disarmed me, but otherwise kept his distance, the way he prowled around and said those menacing things. You had to play the part people expected of you. It is exhausting, but they fear me more if I don't. And of course, bartering does not come from a place of pure altruism. It gives me something to look forward to, alleviates my apprehension of what the next guest will have in store. When one finds himself acting as the Queen's personal executioner, the odds are high that some of the people she sends will be dangerous. Though occasionally, I will receive someone kind enough to offer a listening ear. Like Gillian? Like you. I blink at him, bewildered. Gillian was kind, but he was a notoriously bad listener. He would have interrupted me 10 times just then, usually with some absurd tangent about how he thought snails were effervescent. What I meant to say is that thank you for listening to my sad old tale about a lost love. I've never told it to anyone before. Can I ask you one more question? Of course, anything. Something about that last word makes my stomach flutter. No, I must be hungry. I grab my deserted bowl and sip at the cold soup. If Gillian was such a good man, what did he do to be sent here? What was his crime? Lucius outright grins at this question. He edges a little closer to me as if he wishes to rope me into a conspiracy. Supposedly, he painted an unflattering portrait of a nobleman's daughter. What? That's it? Yes, Gillian couldn't help it. He was both an architect and prestigious painter, lauded for his accuracy and attention to detail. To willfully make the girl more beautiful than she was, well, it would have made a lie, and it would have tarnished his good name. The daughter's betrothed took one look at the portrait and cancelled their arrangement, leaving the nobleman high and dry with an unwed daughter. The nobleman needed someone to take the fall and convince the crown to send Gillian here, but it wasn't Gillian's fault that the man had an ugly daughter. I clasp my hand over my mouth. My giggles are punctuated only by the sound of a crackling fire. I hadn't anticipated that Lucius would make me laugh more than once, let alone show such vulnerability tonight. And it's so odd. It sounded like the artist was punished for revealing the truth, even if it wasn't entirely his intent to do so. In a way, I suppose I swivel my lute into my lap and gaze down at it. It's awash in glowing firelight. I think I'm ready to tell you what I did, Lucius. He straightens immediately at attention. Really? Yes. You kept me waiting for sorry, that's still sorry. You kept me waiting for so long, I didn't expect... Hold on, just a moment, I need a drink. Shall I fetch you a glass as well? I think it would be nice to keep my throat from going dry, yes. What do you have on the menu? Wine? You have wine? Where? Since when? I mean, sure, I don't mind sharing. Lucius shoots me a mysterious winning grin before he stalks off into the halls. Let me have some wine of my own. It's just water, by the way. It's been 2 hours of reading, but I'm enjoying it. I'm just, my throat is getting dry. Where does he hide these things? Every so often, Lucius will present me with some new object or tool from God knows where. Just earlier this week, he fetched me a ladder to climb the ledge when I complained about running out of bathing water. Once I climbed up, he made me promise not to attempt the perilous journey of swimming across the moat, and then handed me a bucket and told me to take all the water I needed. I could swear I've walked through every hall and peeked in every room. Not once have I seen any ladders or buckets until he materialized them into existence. Maybe he knows creation spells? Conjuration magic? A vampire who knows magic. That'll be the day. Lucius returns as I muse over the idea, presenting me with my promised glass. Deep red wine sloshes gently within, glistening like black opal in the room's low light. I would have brought an entire barrel, but the wine is hard to come by around these parts. Better to be frugal with it. You can carry an entire barrel? I told you, I have a strong arm. When I first arrived, I even hauled my coffin up those flights of stairs. Admittedly, it was exhausting. I was strong enough to do it, but I don't have unlimited stamina. And why were you hauling your coffin upstairs? You wanted to be close to the sky? You know me so well already. Lucius returns to his seat and crosses his legs. Sipping his wine, peering at me over the rim, he looks very at ease indeed. At ease and powerful. I take a slow gulp of my own wine. It's sweeter than I expected, with an undertone of currants and plums. Well, hang on. If you're so strong, how was I able to escape you? I yanked myself free when I first arrived. That sounds dangerously close to a complaint, Abigail. I'm just curious. I don't begrudge you for it, but surely you've realized by now that I am very disciplined and have incredible self-control. I released you because I had no desire to restrain you. You were acting like a street cat who didn't want to be held. I did not wish to be scratched. Gee, thanks. Discipline, incredible self-control. You're full of praise for yourself tonight, Lucius. I'm serious. These attributes of my character ensure that I would never bring harm to you. Not unless you asked it of me. I cough into my wine. What is that supposed to mean? Do you need water? No, I'm fine. Can you hear how fast my heart is beating? I pluck absentmindedly at my lute strings, still uncertain if I'm ready to reveal the parts of myself I'd rather forget. But he had been vulnerable with me. It's only fair that I'd be vulnerable with him in turn. And there's no better time like the present. Pepsi is good to dry throat. I don't have any around here. I'll probably just get like a half-liter bottle after I go out with my dog. I'm just gonna. It's been it hasn't been the best of days, so I'm just gonna get some Pepsi, have some popcorn and read. After all this, it feels good to stream though. It feels really good to stream. Start the week, start the month with a stream. It feels good. It feels good. I told you before that I grew up here in Illuvia. I neglected to mention that it was in an orphanage, Nightingale Gardens Home for Girls. His lip just barely twitches, as if he recognizes the name. I wouldn't be surprised if so. It's a very old, long-established institution. One of his previous guests might have mentioned it, or grew up there like me. Pizzas? No, I'm not gonna have pizza. No, I don't want to eat. I've been doing really well when it comes to eating. Well, pretty well. And I just I want to lose a few more kilos. So yeah, maybe I can have some pizza at the end of this week as a little reward, right? If I have a good week, if I do good work and I feel proud of my what I've done on the channel, for the channels, then yeah, maybe I'll have some pizza. By the way, if you like what I do here, subscribe to the channel, check out the back catalog. There's so many, there's thousands, literally thousands of games. And if you like visual novels, I have tens, I think at this point. Well, tens? I don't know. I have quite a few visual novels covered, and I'm going to make another video of a different visual novel, one that's more grim and dangerous with bigger consequences, where I can actually die in it. I'm gonna do a video of such a visual novel that I've covered a first chapter of already, and I'm gonna play to the first two chapters in a video that I'm probably gonna record tomorrow. All right, sorry. Let's go back to Abigail's story. Everyone told me it was enviable, an enviable place to be, especially the matrons who were always so proud to work there. They told me girls would go as far as to murder their own parents in hopes of being sent to Nightingale Gardens. I don't believe that. I never heard of it actually happening, but that was the prevailing attitude. Because the girls of this orphanage were guaranteed to have a place in higher society, we were educated vigorously in matters of court, history, handwriting, sewing, and entertainment. Once every several dozen years, the best and brightest girl was even chosen to become Illuvia's next queen. Wow, really? From orphans? Did they have that tradition when you were human, Lucius? Yes, I believe I heard something about it in passing, but it was a long time ago. Well, the tradition was in full swing when I was young. The last queen was growing old and infirm, and there was talks that the new queen would be chosen soon. How fortunate of you, yes? You could have been chosen. No, I hated there. It was stuffy and full of pompous snobs. The matrons had our entire lives planned out for us without even stopping to ask what we wanted to do. And they had the nerve to act like I should keep my mouth shut and be grateful. The other girls seemed content with their lot, which means they didn't understand how I felt. They kept me at arm's length. I hated the pressure to succeed, and I got into a lot of trouble even back then. I never would have been in line for the throne. The closest person I had as a friend was an older girl named Ophelia. Oh, the O on the keep safe. The O on her journal. Ophelia, She was in line for the throne. We all knew she would be chosen too because she was perfect. She was beautiful, graceful, and always seemed to say the right things. Always. She was always talking about the changes she'd like to make, the way she'd like to improve our kingdom. She does sound lovely, but... Abigail, forgive me for saying this, no one is perfect. Surely Ophelia is not exempt. He looks a little surprised when I start laughing. You're right, you're absolutely right. Ophelia was a godforsaken rascal. She'd lie to her teeth with a smile, and no one was any wiser. That she let me see her naughty, conniving side, I felt special, you know? And she truly did want to make things better. She was as clever and sharp as a knife, but she did care about the people around her. At least, that's what I believed. More wine? Yes, please. I drink deeply from the refilled glass before continuing. So when Ophelia was chosen and packed her bags, she promised me up and down that she would write every day, every single day. I knew that it was forbidden for Illuvia's crown to contact the world outside. We both knew that. Every queen was meant to cut all ties with everyone she ever knew before she was chosen. That was the rule. But I believed her, you know? She was so much smarter than me and so crafty, I really thought that she'd find a way. I patted the cover of my songwriting journal, which I had placed at my side. I always try to keep it near when it pains me. Even when it pains me. But all she ever sent was this book with empty pages and a hurried little note in the inside cover. I thought she was encouraging me to write my songs in it, and it made me happy for a time, but I never heard from her again. Lucius is watching me with his full attention. I can't stop now. So what else could I do? I begged the matrons to grant me a position in the castle. I begged them day and night. All I wanted was to see Ophelia again. Until finally they snapped at me and told me to stop asking. They told me they barely managed to secure a position for me as a court entertainer in a faraway land, and that I needed to be grateful. But I wasn't grateful. I argued with them until they took me by the ear and showed me what for. I'll never forget it. They told me to grow up and stop being childish like while they raked me across the back. Apparently my destination had no complaints about women with whipping scars. Abigail. I ran away soon after, with just the clothes I wore and, honestly, the very things I have with me now. The loot they gave me, the songwriting journal from Ophelia, and a handful of coins. Lucius spoke slowly, reluctant to interject but unable to contain his curiosity. Your crime was running away from this wretched orphanage? Oh no, not at all. I gave them the slip. His shoulders sagged with relief. I wager he feels some kinship with the little girl I once was. I went on to become a traveling vagabond for many years. I performed everywhere I could and I saw the world. It was difficult in its own way. People distrusted in your face and meaningful connections were hard to come by. I was even accused of witchcraft sometimes for some reason. Something about corrupting their women and stealing their men with siren songs. Some days were freeing and exciting back then, while other days made me feel like a ghost in search of a final resting place. But no matter what I did or where I went, I just couldn't stop thinking of Ophelia. Did you have feelings for this Ophelia of yours? Cause, Lucius, she was practically an adult and I was 6. Which means yes, I was absolutely obsessed with her. Not that she ever seemed to fancy anyone. I'd ask her, if she found some boy or girl attractive. She had this way of wrinkling her nose as she turned down every single one. Like you? Like? What? I gawk at him. I notice you wrinkle your nose sometimes when you find something disagreeable. Were you not aware? My face suddenly feels rather hot. Anyway, well, you know how young girls idolize older women. I do. Yeah, well, wait, you do? Yes, I had younger sisters once. We never had the chance to grow closer, but I knew they were eager to idolize. Well, that's news to me. I start to ask about him. I would start to ask about him, but he holds up a hand to stop me. Please, continue on with your tale. I apologize for the interrupt. He grimaces suddenly, and my brows knit with concern. It's not the first time I've seen that
Lucius?
expression.
Are you okay?
Hey, we got voiceovers again.
I'm fine. The coffin.
What's with the coffin? He flinches as he takes a deep breath.
I'll be fine for a while longer. It just calls to me sometimes.
Okay, he has to go back.
If you need to go back early...
Lucius slams his fist on the arm of his seat. His wine jottles slightly in his other hand.
No! I'll not let it squander what little time I have away from it. Forgive me, please. Continue.
I tap my fingers against the cover of my journal, feeling a little agitated but wanting to gratify his wishes. He'll get upset if I sped through the story, but I can try to shorten it for him.
Even from distant kingdoms, I would hear terrible gossip about Alluvia's young queen. Apparently, she did nothing to better anyone's life but her own.
Right, she was lying.
She kept our cruelest traditions intact, torturing and slaughtering people in droves. Most notably, she kept the tradition of sacrificing people to the crown's pet vampire.
Alright.
No offense.
None taken. Inspiring such unease in its people helps the monarchy stay in power. Fear of punishment, I always heard, is a better motivator than acts of love.
Not necessarily.
But Ophelia was supposed to be different, and the people were unhappy. There were talks of a revolt. Although I wasn't the most talented bard in the lands, I was starting to get some renown and make strong connections. I can still scarcely believe it, but I managed to get an audience with Queen Ophelia. I was meant to perform for her.
Wow. Lucius' eyes slowly went wide with realization.
You didn't.
I maybe, kind of, definitely spoke my mind in front of the queen and her entire court. But I did it through song.
You didn't.
Lucius is torn between horrified and scandalously amused, clasping his hand over his jaw with disbelief.
Do you want to hear the song?
I want to hear the song. His gestures were enthusiastically erratic now. He waits for me to go on and can hardly sit still as he pours himself some more wine. As for me, I set my glass down and clear my throat. Sing it, Abigail!
Queens, queens, they roll in the light, remembering tales of their kingdoms. Those lands may now be out of sight, but you can still remember your stratagem. Be vain, be cruel, be always right, proud until unproven. Show your cruel self till the end. of night, when you'll be slain at day's conclusion.
Damn. Damn, she sang that for the queen. That's crazy. I mean, that is crazy. It's like, yeah, you're cruel, you'll die eventually. When Lucius applauds me, it is as gradual as it's resonant. The very furniture across us seems to shudder in response.
Gods!
That was a more subdued version. Back in chord, I was screaming the lyrics at the top of my lungs.
I only wish I could have seen it for myself. You must have been radiant.
Lucius looks at me with plain, unmistakable admiration. I feel my cheeks growing warm again, but I tell myself it's just the wine.
I always knew Alluvia was full of busybody moralists. To think they'd punish you so gravely for such a thing.
I mean, the queen couldn't have someone, in her, invite to sing her and, do that. That's crazy. I mean, you can imagine how someone who's already cruel, right, and, had a loss of power for a very long time, right, ever since she was at the orphanage, that, she would not like to be disrespected like that.
Simply ungrateful.
Oh, I don't know about gravely. I think I like it here.
And I like having you here.
Aww. Our eyes meet with a slow yet abrupt understanding of each other. We're so alike in so many ways, I can hardly believe it. The storm had stopped at some point. It's quiet enough that I can hear his breath steady and strong even from this distance. And then he grimaces again. I pivot in time to see the sky now clear of black clouds, shifting into the first dusk hints of daybreak. Lucius? Yes, I'm going. No need to rush me. You may have to rest the rest of this wine if it pleases you. He smiles at me one last time, strained and fleeting, before he turns into mist and disappears into the shadows. And with that, that almost the end of the chapter, I think. I'll see you tomorrow night, Lucius. I know I'm speaking to an empty room. I know it all too well, but I already miss him. Oh. Chapter 6, Lullabies for the Lost. And you know what? That's gonna be it for me, everyone. That's gonna be for this live stream of Ballads at midnight. After staying up all night, exchanging bittersweet memories with a vampire, I should have been more than ready to fall into a 100-year slumber. Yet I toss and turn for hours. My mind is once again filled with locusts, but instead of wheedling questions, this time they whisper ideas. And if you want to know what ideas Abigail has in her, going to her head, then you can check out Ballads at Midnight. The game is available for free, by the way. It is available for free on Steam and itch.io. It's available for Windows and Mac OS. If you like visual novels, if you like, maybe some different twists on vampire stories, then definitely check it out, because it's I mean, the writing, I think it's really good. I like some words I don't really know, but they're like, because they're fancy words. That's I don't really fancy literature like, I don't know, Shakespeare and stuff. I read the I don't read novels that much. I read I read non-fiction for the most part, so those words aren't exactly in the books that I read. But I think it's very well written. The pacing is pretty good, and it makes sense in terms of the progression of them getting closer and closer as time goes by, as they realize that they're saving each other from the dread of the silence, because that's Lucius definitely knows how bad it is to not be able to communicate with anyone, to be alone. I mean, he was a human at some point, and all humans are social in general, so they're helping each other out. And I don't know if they're gonna help themselves, they'll help each other out to the end, and Abigail is gonna leave, or maybe she's gonna choose to stay. Maybe you will make that choice for her. I have no idea. But for now, that was it, everyone. That was let me save here, because this is the last part where where we say goodbye. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this live stream, give a thumbs up really quick. If you like what I do here, subscribe, check out the back catalog, check out YouTube, BitChute, Odyssey, Rumble, because I'm on all those platforms, and you can discover tons and tons of cool games that I've already covered, mostly indie games, you know, obviously quite a few visual novels as well. So check out the back catalog, and after you do that, please take just half a minute to see the ways to which you can support me so I can continue doing gaming coverage and more for a very long time. The best way to support me is to join my locals community at cryptichybrid.locals.com. It's a Patreon-like site, but it's better because it's not Patreon, and you just go there. You can become a member in my locals community for free. It doesn't cost a thing to become a member, and you get all the public posts that I make on there, or you can become a supporter, and that is $4 a month. But for those $4 a month, you get tons and tons of perks like early access videos, you get support only live streams, you get to decide what I play every Monday on live streams. So for example, if for today, right, this being Monday, August 1st, if you wanted me to play your favorite title, or you wanted to punish me with a game, you want me to play a title that I've previously tried, that I've covered, if you want anything, if you have a game, you're making a game, if you want me to play your game, you know, if you're a supporter, you can nudge me into that direction. Every Monday I play games that are suggested by my supporters. Again, cryptichybrid.locals.com. Other perks of being a supporter: you can ask questions for future interviews that I do. You'll be the first to know who I interview and when, and you can submit your questions to be asked during those interviews. You can participate in game giveaways. You can request topics of me, like from any walk of life. It doesn't have to be gaming related, any topic, and I can reply either in a regular live stream or a supporter only stream. So all those perks, just $4 a month, and you support all my endeavors under the Cryptic Hybrid umbrella, which, you know, at this point, 4 channels and well over 3,500 gameplay videos, live streams like this one, and developer interviews. Thank you again everyone for watching. You can check out other ways to help out me and the channels in the description below, and I'll see you again tomorrow for a new live stream. Until then, there's gonna be another video posted, because, you know, I have lots of stuff already recorded, so more videos coming. Thank you again for watching, and until the next time we see each other, have an awesome week.